Welcome, everybody, to the Pitch Catch podcast. My name is Eli Swice,
And I'm Joey Fernandez.
and we are back with first podcast in a while. Hopefully, we'll be more consistent as the offseason goes on into the regular season. Had a pretty crazy offseason, a bunch of big signings, a lot of controversy. So, we're basically going to go over the winners and the losers of the offseason. Kind of highlight which teams we thought did really well and which teams maybe underperformed in terms of signings and whatnot. So, right into it, I guess a just something to talk about before we get into like winners. What do you think's going to happen with Carlos Correa? Well, what is your stance on that?
I think he ends up just saying screw it and just goes to the Mets
Mm-hmm.
because I it's so hard to say without having like a clear knowledge of what's going on exactly as far as like what's wrong in the medicals. But I would say that he ends up just accepting whatever the Mets want to give him. Maybe it's a reduction in pay just a little bit because that's what I feel like kind of has to happen at this point. Because if they were willing to give him the contract that he signed or he wanted to sign, then I mean, obviously he'd be a Met right now. So that's kind of what my thoughts are at this point. But I mean, what else? What else? What other option does he really have? I know that they said that there was something with him being in contact with another team,
Mm-hmm.
but it I guess it depends on the team to me because if a team is willing to take a risk like that two other teams saw that wasn't worth it, then I guess more power to them. But I just don't see that happening because all the medical staffs probably think around the same thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's not only like, oh, the medicals are bad with these couple teams. I hope my team signs him to whatever deal. You really got to think like this is one of the best players in baseball. If he can't get a deal done with two teams because something is wrong in the medicals, it's you got to be worried that it might be something serious. It has to be something serious, or else he would have signed with the Giants. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
kind of you don't really know the severity. You would have to assume the severity is pretty high because you don't this doesn't happen. Um, and it does seem like a Mets thing to kind of just find a way to retain him. Um, if not, I honestly have zero idea where he would go. Um, because after two teams that really need him, I mean, I guess the Mets don't need him, but obviously they showed an interest in snatching him from the Giants. Um, After those two teams don't really close the deal, it's got to make you think how many other teams really want to give this guy money.
Exactly. I mean, especially when you're committing such a long-term contract like that, it's you got to really do your due diligence. So it's that's what's tough. It's like say he was only looking for a 1-year deal or something like that, it would be much simpler. And obviously you just take a few less, but when it comes to like a 10 plus year contract like he's going to get, then it's like you you don't want to take a risk. I mean, no
Yeah.
matter the player, but you don't want him breaking down in his 30s. I mean, because that's where most of the deal is going to come from. So
Hmm.
it's there's a lot of give and take because obviously you get enticed by the player itself, but at the same time, is it the best move for your organization in the long term? Because I mean, we've all seen how many contracts have just gone down the drain past like midway through, I guess you could even say, maybe even earlier.
Hmm.
So it's teams are starting to catch on a little bit, unless it's just that telling. I mean, maybe
Hmm.
maybe teams haven't caught on, but it's just that bad in the physicals because it could easily be like that because it's kind of yeah, I would say it's alarming at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like whether or not they get Correa or not, they still got to be put in the winners category for the offseason. So we can kind of talk about the Mets for a little bit. Obviously, with Correa, it's an unbelievable offseason for them, but they lost Jacob DeGrom, who's the best pitcher in baseball pretty much when he's healthy. The only problem is he's kind of struggled to stay healthy. He goes to the Rangers. Um, but then they replaced him with Justin Verlander, who had a phenomenal year last year, and they added a lot of starting pitching as well as like Kodai Senga and Jose Quintana. Losing Taiwan Walker to the Phillies doesn't really hurt much to them after some of the moves they made. And then I believe during the offseason, they re signed Brandon Nimmo, which was huge for them. So overall, just bolstered the starting pitching after losing the best pitcher in baseball, and their lineup is fine. I mean, fine in a sense where they didn't really need to do anything, and they might still get one of the best hitters in baseball. So, really, not much to say.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they did what they had to do, and this is kind of how the Mets are now. Everyone kind of comes to expect this. So, I mean, the Mets are gonna Met, I guess.
Yeah,
um, Besides that, I think Nimmo was obviously a great signing. I think Taiwan Walker is kind of just whatever. So,
yeah,
I mean, I feel pretty good about them. I think they're a clear winner, even if with or without Correa. So,
yeah, yeah. Good for them. I think the other New York team also can be put into this winners category, the Yankees. Looking at them re-signing the face of their franchise, obviously that was a must in Aaron Judge. That needed to be done. And then they get Carlos Rodon, who is probably a top 10 pitcher in baseball. He's a top 3 to 5 left-hander in baseball. Um, that's huge for them. And for me personally, that there's been a lot of dialogue about, who has the best rotation, the Mets, the Yankees. I think it's pretty clearly the Yankees. With the addition of Carlos Rodon, you get Garrett Cole and Rodon as your 1 and 2, which is unbelievable. And then Nestor Cortez, who is borderline ace at your 3, and then Severino at your 4, who showed that when he's healthy, he's back to being. We know Luis Severino is nasty, and then Frankie Montas, who had a down year, but he's your 5. I mean, you could play around with like a few other guys in there, but Frankie Montas is your 5. I mean, he would be a 3 to 4 on a lot of teams. Um, so I think the Yankees overall, I would have liked to see them add some bats. Obviously, your White Sox got Benintendi, and they lost him. The hitting didn't change much, but I really just that pitching rotation is almost flawless.
yeah, I I mean, obviously getting Judge signing or sign Judge back was also a big move, but yeah, I think the pitching is the main the main point of topic here just because I mean, uh personally, I'm not even a Yankees fan, but I'm like salivating just thinking about that
Mhm.
rotation. Like that's disgusting, but
Yeah.
especially with Montas being a big bounce back candidate this year. So, I mean, I I I hate to say it because I'm really not a Yankees fan, but uh, I think they did wonders this offseason. Obviously, getting Benintendi back would have been nice, but overall, I think their lineup's still very strong, and uh, I don't see much in the the way of needs for them. So,
Yeah. Is there any other team that comes to your mind quickly about wow, this team really showed up in the offseason?
um, I mean, I don't know if this one comes off as obvious or not, but I think get the Rangers getting DeGrom
Hmm.
obviously helps them a lot. I mean, it just kind of to be able to get the best pitcher in baseball. Obviously, he's later in his career, but anytime you get the best pitcher in baseball, it's always a great move. And another thing I just remembered, I don't know if you brought this up or not. I didn't hear it, but the Mets got Verlander.
Yeah.
Did we say
Yeah, I
that?
brought it up. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. But yeah, overall, I mean, I think the Rangers hit a home run with that pick, and then they also got Andrew Heaney, who is coming off a solid year, a solid bounce back year. So I like the rotation a lot. Obviously, they need some more bats, but they have some young hitters coming up. So I think I'd call them a winner. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I definitely would, and especially when you consider that they sneakily got Nate Eovaldi as well.
Oh shit.
So they also re-signed Martin Perez. So that
Yep.
rotation, I believe they got Odorizzi as well, to go along with John Gray and kind of the fifth to long reliever, role. But that 1 through 4, I feel like it's the most volatile rotation in the league. I feel like I mean, like there can be times where this can be not that great, but if they're all healthy and all doing what they're doing, this could be a top 3 rotation in baseball. I mean, is Heaney for real? I'm not sure if I'm going to buy into it yet, but he was very impressive last year. Martin Perez came out of nowhere, and had his best year of his career. Can he do that again? I hope so, but you don't know. Can DeGrom stay healthy? If all of those are yeses, I mean, this 1 through 4 at least with John Gray,
I like
and
John Gray.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's as a 5, that's perfectly fine, and Odorizzi as well. Um, I don't think that, and Glenn Otto, I guess, but I don't know what he's gonna be. He's a walk machine. Um,
I sneakily like Taylor Hearn too, but
that's true.
I don't hate him at all. But yeah, I mean, another should we move on to the losers or do we have any more winners?
I guess we can just quick in terms of winners, we can quickly brush over like the Padres getting Bogarts. I think that was huge.
Okay.
Um, I would have liked them to get another starting pitcher, maybe. The Phillies with Turner, that was a big addition. Also getting Taiwan Walker. Um, and then the Blue Jays, they got Bassett, they got Varsho. I think those were very, very solid ads. But in terms of huge additions, I mean, the Cubs made like moves, but not anything major besides, I guess, Dansby Swanson. Um,
The
and
expectations.
yeah, the expectations were huge.
Dansby Swanson's not even a big move anymore.
No, I mean, I just don't want to spend too much time on it. I'm happy with the move. I think he'll have a good year. But I guess another NL Central team, the Cardinals, a team with very, very few flaws, kind of addressed their one big flaw in getting Contreras. Um, so overall, I think there were teams that really addressed their needs, but I think we went over the big winners. Who are some of the big losers that come to mind for you?
I mean, I I wanted to go to start with the Red Sox, but the Devers news kind of shakes it off a little bit. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah,
Because they kept around their guy, but at the same time they lost one of their guys in the process,
yeah.
while kind of half-heartedly kind of going for him. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it felt like they were in the race, but at the same time they just kind of got outbid pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd call them a loser personally, just because they lost one of their staples to the team and they're kind of in limbo. But besides that, do you have any other names?
Yeah, I mean the Red Sox, got Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner, but they're losing people like JD Martinez and obviously Xander Bogaerts. Them extending Devers was a must. Oh my goodness, they
Yeah,
would have.
if they do that, they'd be the biggest loser for sure.
Yeah. This is I don't know if this comes to mind for a lot of people, but I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Orioles, just in the sense that this was kind of like America's team last year. We were all rooting for them, and they almost made the playoffs way ahead of schedule. Obviously, the trajectory of the team is really good, and we know in a few years there's a lot of exciting names coming up, and this team can be very good. But they got really close to the playoffs last year and didn't do anything. Like the highlights of their offseason are what Kyle Gibson and Adam Frazier. Um,
Mhm.
okay, this doesn't make you better. I would have liked to see them go for a bigger name. I don't think they're going to be that great this year. Because last year was kind of like we reacted in a way as if they overachieved, and we were surprised that they did that well. And I don't think they did better. So if we expect them to regress a little bit in terms of I don't know, like they got some exciting guys coming up. Like Adley in the second year is going to be phenomenal, and like Gunnar Henderson and Grayson Rodriguez are going to be fun to watch. But I don't know. I feel like this team could have expedited their quote unquote rebuild this year, and their additions don't do it for me.
Yeah, because in basically they swapped out Jordan Lyles for Kyle Gibson and swapped out Odor for Frazier. So like, how much
Yeah,
better can you really get? You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
Like, uh, I don't know. It's a little baffling. Their GM also kind of talked like they would possibly make a move,
He
and
talked
it
as
just
if they were
didn't
going to
happen.
spend a lot, actually. So it was surprising.
You didn't even hear their name, really, honestly.
No.
Besides that, um, a team I was kind of thinking about, but then I don't know. It feels like very them was the Braves. just because it felt like they lost, but at the same time they gained Murphy, so it's kind of it's hard to say. I'd probably call them neutral just
Yeah.
because um would you say the White Sox could be a loser?
Um, I think they can be put into the underwhelming category. Um, Bennington's a solid addition. Clevenger is fine, but I would have liked to see a bigger move. I don't want to call them a loser because, I mean, how many names were they really connected to? Um,
None, but at the same
yeah,
time, you would kind of like them to be connected.
yeah, exactly. Um,
So it's
I'd
kind of
still,
that I'd call them a loser, but I think I might be a little harder on them than most people would be, just because that's my team. But that's why I wanted your opinion on it, just because I feel like could have done more. I mean, it's not too late, I guess, but
mhm,
I'd still like to see them add a couple more positions that they definitely need. But
yeah. Well, they're definitely not a winner. I guess they're a loser, just not in the sense of some of the other teams. Um,
yeah,
they really could have used a couple more additions, but it is what it is for them. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other teams. It's interesting because the Dodgers really didn't do anything major. They lost, you know, Anderson. They lost Justin Turner. They lost Bellinger, who I mean, I don't know if he should even be brought up for them. But they
mm,
lost pieces, and I mean, they got Syndergaard, which I'm very excited for because I feel like this is the perfect scenario for Syndergaard, where has some underwhelming years. Everyone's kind of writing him off, and then first week of the season, this guy throws 7 shutout, and the Dodgers kind of just turn his whole thing around. Um, and I'm excited for what they do with him. It sounds like a move that they would make um, because they know that they can fix this guy. But it's hard to like. I guess you can put them in underwhelming, but you can't really put them in loser because they're gonna win the division. So it's kind of like,
yeah. It's like they didn't fill the holes that they gained, but at the same time, they have players that can fill the holes that just opened up. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like, did they even need to make a move? I mean, they got JD, but I mean, I guess he replaces JT in the DH, but I don't know.
yeah. It's definitely, I don't know. It's interesting. I think I think an honorable mention for a winner could possibly be the Diamondbacks. I really liked what they got for Varsho, and they got Longoria and retained Zach Davies. Um, known good guy Zach Davies, and I mean I think they're on the right track. There's so many guys on that team that I'm excited to watch, and so many just young stars. I think that they're going to be just fine. I think
Mm,
I think honestly the Cubs can be placed in like the kind of winners category. Nothing super disappointing from them. They kind of addressed their needs, even though it was all about Bogarts or Correa or Turner. I mean, Dansby's a fine addition, and then I really like the Tyone signing for the price, and I'm fine with taking a shot on Bellinger, especially with the guys coming up behind him. If Bellinger fails, he just gets replaced by our top prospect, so that's fine. Um, and it's gonna be fun to watch Eric Hosmer one hop it in the Wrigley win to the fence um, after it hits home plate. So I mean,
yeah,
not
exactly.
not many other. I mean, not many other teams really went. It's weird because it was a crazy offseason, but not many teams went crazy. I think it was
Yeah, it's
just the
kind of the
players.
same old culprits in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
I also think that an honorable mention, in my opinion, would be I mean, not the Giants, the Angels.
Hmm.
I know you're a known Angels lover, but I think Hunter Renfroe was a nice pickup.
Yeah,
Tyler Anderson was also solid. I mean, and they didn't really lose much, so I think they're in the honorable mention category.
yeah. I would agree with that. I just think the Angels are kind of. I'm gonna put faith into them again, and then they're just gonna somehow mess it all up with having Trout and Otani. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not a Tyler Anderson truther for now. Um, and obviously, I don't know. I'm just that rotation still kind of scares me a little bit. Hunter Renfroe's obviously a good addition. I don't think they lost at all, but I mean, it was kind of like, oh, good job, you did fine. Um, I don't. I'm curious. Where do you think the Angels finish in the standings? Because I actually have them fourth.
Okay. Uh, I mean, I haven't really thought that much into it yet, to be honest with you, but they're probably right around there for me too.
Hmm.
But I still think their moves were solid. I mean, I think they could have done a little more, but from what they did and what they filled, I don't hate it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, there's nothing to really complain about there. Um, I guess before we finish up, what was the move? And I'm gonna not include Carlos Correa's quote unquote move to the Mets or the Giants or
Okay.
whoever. What was the move that probably surprised you the most?
mm, man,
I got one
what?
if you need a little time to think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come back to me.
um, Pretty easily Xander Bogaerts. Pretty easily.
That's what I was thinking, but at the same time, the Padres have just instilled this thing in my head that anything is possible with them. So that's
Hmm.
what's like, does that surprise me in the back of my head? I don't know.
What kind of got me was I feel like there was a lot of traction in terms of the Red Sox going and re-signing him at that time. Like it was starting to pick up. Like okay, he's coming back, and then the Padres swoop in and give him an 11-year deal. The crazy part of it all is like, okay, did they need a shortstop? No,
Uh-huh.
they have Tatis, they have Kim, and you add like the Padres' top four is the best top four maybe that I've seen like ever. Um, when all healthy, you're thinking of Tatis, Soto, Bogarts, and Machado. Like what?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's pretty insane. It's pretty insane.
it's pretty insane. I mean, I guess my answer I Sheila, I didn't want to do anything White Sox related, but I really do think Jose Abreu to the Astros was kind of shocking to me.
Oh really?
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I don't know. I thought that was pretty crazy. Wilson Contreras to the rivals.
Mhm.
I didn't expect that either. I mean, I knew they had a hole at catcher, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, did I think they were going to spend up? No, not at all. So, I guess those would be my two.
Yeah. No, I would agree with those. I think my favorite moment thus far of the offseason was Arson Judge to Giants.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
arson.
John Heyman really provided some entertainment during the offseason.
I
But
can't
yeah,
believe it wasn't Bob Nightingale.
I know. I know. And then the videos of John Heyman walking around right after, like in the winter meetings, just all alone.
Gold. You gotta put the Curb Your Enthusiasm music behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's a loser of the offseason, that's for sure.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
like
He's never
actually,
gonna live that down. People are still talking about arson to this day.
yeah. Yeah. And then a couple weeks later, he just follows up with Coke Hamels, trying to spell Cole Hamels. Like he was rushing to type that Cole Hamels wants to play baseball and break the news. Like,
Gotta be first to the beat.
yeah, absolutely. So he's a loser of the offseason. Jeff Passan, obviously, common winner of the offseason. Um,
Common dub.
yeah, is there anything else you really want to touch on, or should we save it for a later episode?
I think we should save it. I don't have anything pressing coming to mind.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully this Correa stuff gets sorted out. What's crazy is in 30 days, pitchers and catchers report. So we're getting to that time.
It's crunch
Um,
time.
we're ready to go. So make sure to follow the TikTok down below. Make sure to subscribe and thank you all for listening. And have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Peace.